The observation deck of the stellar horizon was quiet at this hour. Most passengers were either sleeping or enjoying the entertainment halls deeper in the ship. Taiyang preferred it this way. He sat in his usual corner, a worn book resting in his hands. The pages were real paper, not a digital screen. Real books were rare these days, especially out here among the stars. Through the massive window, space stretched endlessly. Stars glittered like diamonds on black silk. Taiyang had seen this view 1,000 times, but it never got old. Out here, everything seemed peaceful. Out here, the past felt far away. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Taiyang looked up. A young woman stood nearby, smiling politely. She was Korean like him. That was unusual. There were not many humans on this ship and even fewer Koreans. She wore the uniform of a diplomatic assistant, crisp and professional. "It's free," Taiyang said, returning to his book. The woman sat down, arranging her tablet on her lap. For several minutes, neither spoke. Taiyang appreciated that. So many people felt the need to fill silence with meaningless talk. "I'm Nari," she finally said. "I work for Ambassador Kwan. We're heading to the Vrak negotiations." "Taiyang," he replied without looking up. "Merchant, what do you sell?" "Information. Trade routes. Market analysis." The lies came easily after so many years. Nari nodded, though she looked curious. "You don't seem like a merchant." Taiyang finally closed his book and met her eyes. "What do I seem like?" She hesitated, then smiled. "I don't know. Someone who's seen a lot, maybe. Someone who prefers watching to talking." "Smart observation," Taiyang said. He stood, tucking the book under his arm. "Enjoy the view, Nari." He walked away before she could ask more questions. Getting close to people was dangerous. It made them targets. It made him care. And caring made everything harder. 3 days passed peacefully. The stellar horizon was a luxury cruise liner, the finest in this sector. It carried diplomats, wealthy merchants, and tourists from dozens of alien species. The ship's captain was a Xanthari named Vrel, a four-armed creature with blue skin and a professional manner. The crew was efficient and well-trained. Taiyang kept to himself. He ate alone, exercised in the empty gym during odd hours, and spent his evenings reading in the observation deck. Nari appeared sometimes, always friendly but never pushy. She talked about her work, about the peace negotiations that might end decades of tension between humans and the Vrak Empire. "Do you think peace is possible?" she asked one evening. Taiyang considered the question. "Peace is always possible. The question is whether both sides want it badly enough." "Do you think the Vrak want it?" "They're talking. That's something." He paused. "War is expensive. Peace is profitable. Eventually, even the most stubborn warriors understand that." Nari smiled. "You sound like you know a lot about war." "I know enough." Taiyang stood again, ending the conversation as he always did. But this time Nari grabbed his arm gently. "Thank you," she said, "for talking to me. Most of the aliens on this ship treat us humans like we're children. It's nice to have a real conversation." Taiyang nodded and left. Her words stayed with him longer than he liked. On the 10th day of the journey, everything changed. Taiyang was in the observation deck reading as usual. The ship suddenly shuddered. The lights flickered. An alarm began to wail loud and urgent. The few passengers in the deck looked around in confusion. "Attention, all passengers." Captain Vrel's voice crackled over the speakers. "We are experiencing a minor technical—" The transmission cut off. Through the window, Taiyang saw 3 ships approaching. They were dark, angular vessels covered in crude armor plating. Pirate ships. Krovar, if he had to guess. The passengers around him began to panic. Taiyang remained still, his mind already calculating. He was 10 days from his destination. The coalition navy would be hours away, maybe days. The ship's security force was small, designed to handle drunk passengers, not a military assault. Another shudder ran through the ship. The pirates were attaching boarding tubes. Taiyang set his book down carefully, marking his place. He stood and walked toward the corridor leading to the passenger cabins. Sir, you need to return to your cabin and lock the door." A crew member, some green-skinned alien, rushed past him toward the gathering passengers. Taiyang ignored him. He moved through the corridors with purpose. Other passengers were panicking now, running in confused groups. He avoided them easily. Years of training made crowds easy to navigate. He found Nari in the diplomatic wing. She was with Ambassador Kwan, an older Korean man with gray hair and sharp eyes. 2 security officers stood with them, human women in black uniforms. One of them was named Jiwon according to her name tag. Taiyang. Nari's face showed relief. What's happening? Pirates. Crover Syndicate, probably. They're boarding now. He looked at Jiwon. How many security personnel on the ship? Jiwon frowned. That's not your concern, sir. Please return to your cabin. How many? Taeyang repeated, his voice flat. Something in his tone made Jiwon pause. She studied him for a moment, her professional training recognizing something. 47 security personnel, mixed species, standard crowd control training, weapons, stun batons, shock pistols, nothing lethal. This is a civilian vessel. Taeyang nodded. The Crovar won't have that problem. They'll have plasma rifles, blades, and probably some heavy weapons. Each Crovar warrior stands 8 feet tall, weighs about 400 pounds, and has regenerative capabilities. Your security team won't last 10 minutes. How do you know all this? Ambassador Quan demanded. Before Taeyang could answer, the sound of gunfire echoed through the ship. Screams followed. The overhead light switched to emergency red. Jiwon activated her communicator. All security personnel, this is Officer Jiwon. Pirates are boarding. Defensive positions Alpha through Delta. Protect the civilian corridors. Use any force necessary. She looked at the ambassador. Sir, we need to get you to the secure room. More gunfire. Closer now. A massive crash shook the corridor. Around the corner, a door exploded inward. Smoke billowed out. Through it came the Crovar. They were exactly as Taeyang had described. Massive reptilian creatures with green scales and yellow eyes. They wore crude armor and carried weapons that looked like they'd been stolen from a dozen different species. The lead Crover grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. Humans, it growled in heavily accented common language. The soft skins are here. Jiwon pushed Nari and the ambassador behind her. She raised her shock pistol. Stand down! This vessel is protected under coalition law. The Crovar laughed. His companions spread out, surrounding the group. Coalition law? Out here, stupid human. There is no law here. Only the strong and the prey. He lunged forward with shocking speed. Jiwon fired. The electrical charge hit the Crovar's chest and did nothing. His hand wrapped around her throat and lifted her off the ground. She kicked uselessly against his armored belly. Let her go, Taeyang said quietly. The Crovar turned, still holding Jiwon. What did you say, little soft skin? Taeyang stood still, his hands relaxed at his sides. His face showed no fear, no anger, just calm. I said let her go. The Crovar threw Jiwon aside. She hit the wall hard and collapsed. The creature moved toward Taeyang, each step heavy enough to shake the floor. You want to play hero? I will enjoy eating your— He never finished the sentence. Taeyang moved. One moment he was standing still. The next he was inside the Crovar's reach. His hand struck the creature's throat with surgical precision. There was a wet crack. The Crovar's eyes went wide. He stumbled backward, both hands clutching his ruined windpipe. The other Crovar stared in shock. Taeyang didn't wait. He grabbed the falling leader's plasma rifle and fired 3 times. 3 bodies hit the floor. The corridor went silent except for the dying gasps of the first Crovar. Taeyang checked the rifle's charge and maglocked it to his belt. He knelt beside Jiwon, checking her pulse. She was alive, just unconscious, Nari, he said calmly. Take the ambassador to the secure room. Stay there until someone comes for you. Nari stared at him, her face pale. Who are you? Taeyang picked up his book from where he'd dropped it. He tucked it carefully into his jacket pocket. Then he looked at her with those calm, dark eyes. Just a merchant, he said. Now go. More footsteps echoed through the ship. Heavy ones. The Crovar were bringing more warriors. Taeyang walked toward the sound, the plasma rifle ready in his hands. Behind him, Nari finally moved, helping the stunned ambassador toward safety. She looked back once. Taeyang had already disappeared around the corner. All she could hear was the sound of weapons firing and the screams of the Crovar, and something else. Something that sounded like death, walking calmly through the corridors of the stellar horizon. The corridors of the stellar horizon had become a war zone. Smoke filled the air. Emergency lights cast everything in shades of red. Bodies lay scattered on the floor, most of them security personnel who had tried to stop the Crovar advance. Taeyang moved through this chaos like a ghost. His footsteps made no sound. The plasma rifle in his hand seemed like a natural extension of his body. He turned a corner and found 6 Crovar warriors dragging passengers from their rooms. The aliens laughed as they pulled a screaming family into the corridor. Taeyang raised the rifle and fired. The first shot took the nearest crowbar in the back of the head. The second and third dropped 2 more before they could turn around. The remaining 3 spun to face him, raising their weapons. Too slow. Taeyang was already moving. He slid under their firing line, the plasma bolt scorching the air above him. As he slid past the first crowbar, he drove a combat knife into the creature's knee joint. The crowbar howled and fell. Taeyang was up and moving before the body hit the ground. The next crowbar swung a massive blade. Taeyang ducked, letting the weapon pass over his head. He struck twice, fast as a snake. The crowbar's weapon clattered to the floor. So did the crowbar, clutching a throat that would never draw breath again. The last one tried to run. Taeyang shot him in the back. "Get to the secure rooms," he told the terrified family. They stared at him like he was something from a nightmare. Now they ran. Taeyang continued forward. Captain Vrel's voice crackled over the emergency speakers. "All passengers remain in your cabins. Security forces are dealing with the situation. Repeat, stay in your cabins," Taeyang almost smiled. The captain was trying to keep people calm, but the fear in his voice was obvious. The security forces were not dealing with anything. They were dying. The crowbar had brought at least 50 warriors, maybe more. He reached the main passenger deck and found a massacre. 20 security personnel lay dead or dying. A group of crowbar stood in the center, organizing the captured passengers into groups. Humans in one group, other aliens in another. Taeyang knew what came next. The valuable ones would be sold as slaves. The rest would be killed or kept as food. One crowbar stood apart from the others. He was larger, his armor more elaborate. Scars covered his face and arms. This was their leader, the one making decisions. His name tag said Vorak in rough common script. Vorak was talking to a terrified passenger, a blue-skinned alien who kept pointing toward the diplomatic wing. The humans. They have an ambassador, worth much money. Taeyang lined up his shot. The rifle hummed as it charged. Every crowbar head turned toward the sound, human. Vorak roared. "You dare!" Taeyang fired. The blast took the prisoner-pointing alien in the chest. The body fell smoking. Taeyang stepped into the open, rifle leveled at Vorak. "Leave this ship," Taeyang said. His voice was calm, conversational. "Take your warriors and go. You have 10 seconds. The crowbar stared. Then they laughed. Vorak's laugh was loudest of all. "One human thinks he can stop us? You are brave but stupid, Softskin. I will mount your head on my ship." 5 seconds, Taeyang said. Vorak roared and charged. 10 warriors charged with him. The passengers screamed. Taeyang dropped the rifle and moved. What happened next was almost too fast to follow. Taeyang became a blur of motion. He used the crowbar's size against them. He was smaller, faster, and infinitely more skilled. He struck joints and weak points with brutal precision. A crowbar's armor meant nothing if you knew where the gaps were. One warrior swung a blade. Taeyang caught the arm, redirected the strike into another crowbar's face, then broke the arm in 3 places. Another fired a plasma pistol. Taeyang used the dying warrior as a shield, then threw the body into the shooter. Both went down. He found a dropped stun baton. It was meant for crowd control, but in Taeyang's hands it became a surgical instrument. He struck nerve clusters, breaking the connection between brain and body. Crowbar warriors dropped like puppets with cut strings. Vorak watched his warriors fall with growing horror. This was impossible. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that. They were small and soft and easy to break. But this human moved like death itself, precise and unstoppable. "What are you?" Vorak whispered. Taeyang dropped the baton and picked up a plasma rifle. "Someone who's done this before." He shot 3 more crowbar in quick succession. The remaining warriors broke and ran. Taeyang let them go. His focus was on Vorak. The crowbar leader stood his ground. He had not survived this long by being a coward. He drew 2 curved blades, each as long as Taeyang's arm. "Come then, human. Let us see who is stronger." They fought. Vorak was skilled. Taeyang had to admit that. The crowbar had probably killed hundreds of opponents in single combat. His blades moved in complex patterns, each strike powerful enough to cut through steel. His regenerative abilities meant that minor wounds healed almost instantly. But Taeyang had fought enemies like this before. Stronger enemies, faster enemies, more dangerous enemies. He read Vorak's patterns in seconds. Every warrior had patterns, habits, preferences. Taeyang turned those patterns against him. He dodged instead of blocking, letting Vorak's strength work against him. He struck places where regeneration did not help, joints and nerve clusters and organs. Slowly, methodically, he broke the crowbar down. Vorak's movements grew sluggish. Blood poured from a dozen wounds. His blades felt heavy in his hands. "How?" he gasped. "You are just a human." "No," Taeyang said quietly. He struck one final time, a precise blow to the base of Vorak's skull. "I'm not." Vorak fell. His blades clattered on the floor. He lay there, breathing hard, unable to move. Taeyang stood over him. "The stories," Vorak whispered. Blood bubbled from his mouth. "The stories about humans. They were true. You're one of them." A Reaper, Taeyang said nothing. He picked up a plasma rifle and checked its charge. Behind him, the rescued passengers huddled together, staring at him with a mixture of fear and awe. "Is everyone all right?" he asked, his voice returning to that calm, gentle tone. No one answered. They were too afraid. This quiet, book-reading merchant had just killed 20 Crovar warriors in minutes. Had moved like nothing they had ever seen. Had shown abilities that should not be possible. Jiwon limped into the passenger deck, one hand pressed to her ribs. She had regained consciousness and followed the sound of fighting. She saw the bodies, saw Taeyang standing calmly in the center of the carnage. Her training told her this was impossible. Her eyes told her it was real. "The pirates are retreating," she said quietly. "Their ship just detached." "They're running." Taeyang nodded. "They won't come back." "Who are you?" Jiwon asked. It was the same question Nari had asked. The question everyone wanted answered. Taeyang looked at her for a long moment. Then he walked past, heading toward the medical bay. "Someone who needs to check on the wounded." He left Jiwon standing there, surrounded by bodies and questions she could not answer. Captain Vrel found him an hour later. The ship was secured. The Crovar had fled, leaving behind their dead and injured. Medical teams were treating the wounded. Engineering crews were repairing the damage. And Vrel had spent that hour searching through Coalition databases. He found Taeyang in the observation deck, sitting in his usual spot. The book was open in his lap. To anyone who had not witnessed the fighting, he looked like just another peaceful passenger. "I know what you are," Vrel said. His forearms trembled slightly. Taeyang looked up. "Do you?" "I searched the classified military databases, the highest security level I could access. There are rumors, legends really, about a human program, about warriors trained from childhood, enhanced, unstoppable." Vrel's voice dropped to a whisper. "They call them Reapers." "They call us many things," Taeyang said calmly. He returned to his book. "How many of you are there?"
"Enough. Why are you on this ship?"
"Is this some kind of mission?" Taeyang closed the book. "I'm going to the Vrak negotiations. Just like I told Nari, I'm delivering something important." "What?" "Peace." Taeyang stood. "If you'll excuse me, Captain, I'd like to help with the wounded. I have some medical training." Vrel watched him walk away. The Zenthari captain had commanded ships for 30 years. He had seen battle, had faced down pirates and rebels and desperate criminals, but he had never felt fear like this. Not fear of Taeyang himself, but fear of what he represented. Humans had created warriors like this, had trained them, had kept them secret, and if one of them could do this much damage, what could all of them do together? Vrel returned to the bridge with shaking hands. He sent an encrypted message to Coalition Command. They needed to know. Everyone needed to know. Humanity was not the weak, soft species they pretended to be. They were something else, something dangerous, and somewhere in the galaxy other beings were learning the same lesson. The Crovar survivors were spreading the word. The ships that witnessed the Stellar Horizon battle were broadcasting the news. A single human had defeated an entire Crovar raiding party. His name was Taeyang, and he was a Reaper. The legends were real, and they were terrifying. The news spread faster than light itself. In every corner of the galaxy, beings heard the story. A single human had destroyed a Crovar raiding party. Not just defeated them, but made them run in terror. The survivors spoke of impossible speed, perfect precision, and a warrior who seemed to know death personally. They spoke the name, Taeyang. They spoke the title, Reaper. On the Stellar Horizon, life tried to return to normal. The engineering crews repaired the damaged sections. The medical teams treated the wounded. The dead were prepared for proper ceremonies. But nothing felt normal anymore. Every passenger who had seen Taeyang fight looked at him differently now. Nari found him in the medical bay. He was helping treat the injured, his hands gentle and skilled. He wrapped bandages, administered medicine, and spoke softly to frightened passengers. The contrast was jarring. "These were the same hands that had killed 20 warriors. Can we talk?" she asked. Taeyang finished wrapping a passenger's arm. He gave the alien a reassuring smile. "You'll be fine. Change the bandage every 12 hours. Come back if the pain gets worse." He stood and walked with Nari into the corridor. She led him to an empty meeting room. When the door closed, she turned to face him. "The captain says you're something called a Reaper. He says you're part of a secret human military program. He says there are only 12 of you in the entire galaxy." She paused. "Is that true?" Taeyang sat down on the edge of a table. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he nodded. "It's true. All of it. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me?" Taeyang asked. "If I had sat in the observation deck and said I was a trained killer, would that have made things better?" Nari thought about it. "No, probably not. I tried to keep my distance. I tried not to get involved. But when they hurt Jawan, when they threatened you and the ambassador..." He trailed off. "I couldn't just watch." "Tell me about the Reapers," Nari said. "Please, I want to understand." Taeyang looked out the window at the stars. His voice was quiet when he spoke. 60 years ago, humanity reached for the stars. We thought we would find friends out here, allies, partners. Instead, we found predators. The Krovar attacked our first colony. They killed 30,000 people. Men, women, children, everyone. Nari felt her stomach tighten. We tried diplomacy. We tried threats. Nothing worked. The galaxy sees humans as weak. We're smaller than most species, slower, less physically powerful. The Vrak Empire offered us a choice: become their servants or be destroyed. The Krovar just wanted to eat us. So you created the Reapers. The government created the Reaper Initiative. They found children with exceptional abilities. Fast reflexes, high intelligence, perfect memory, strong will. They trained us from age 7. Fighting, tactics, languages, technology, medicine, infiltration. Everything we needed to survive against enemies who were bigger and stronger. They trained children to be killers, Nari said. There was no judgment in her voice, just sadness. They trained us to protect humanity, to be the weapon that other species would fear, to show the galaxy that humans could bite back. Taeyang's hands were very still in his lap. There are 12 of us. We ended the war with the Vrak in 3 months. We destroyed Krovar strongholds. We made examples of anyone who threatened Earth. And now I'm trying to make peace. I'm delivering a treaty to the Vrak negotiations. If they sign it, decades of tension end. Humanity gets a real seat at the table, not as servants, but as equals." He looked at her. "This was supposed to be my last mission. After this, I was going to retire. Live a normal life." Nari smiled sadly. "I don't think normal is an option anymore. Everyone knows what you are now." As if to prove her point, an alarm suddenly blared. The ship shuddered. Captain Vrel's voice came over the speakers, tight with stress. "All passengers return to your cabins immediately. We are under attack. Multiple hostile vessels approaching." Taeyang was on his feet instantly. "How many?" Nari checked her tablet, connecting to the ship's systems. Her face went pale. 15 ships. Multiple species. Mercenaries by the look of them. "They're here for me," Taeyang said. Word got out. Now every bounty hunter and mercenary in the sector wants to claim they killed a Reaper. The Coalition Navy is still 2 days away. We can't fight 15 ships. Taeyang's expression was grim. Then we don't fight the ships. We survive until help arrives. He ran toward the bridge. Nari followed. The corridors were full of panicking passengers. Security personnel tried to maintain order, but everyone had heard the stories about the last attack. Everyone was afraid. On the bridge, Captain Vrel stood at the center of a whirlwind of activity. His crew worked frantically at their stations. Through the main window, ships were visible in the distance, growing closer. They were a mix of types, clearly belonging to different factions. The only thing they had in common was their target. "Captain," Taeyang said. Vrel spun around. Relief and fear mixed on his face. "Reaper. They're demanding we surrender you. If we comply, they'll let the ship go. And if I believe that, I'm an idiot." Taeyang moved to the tactical station. "They'll take me. Then they'll kill everyone to eliminate witnesses. That's standard mercenary procedure. Then what do we do?" Taeyang studied the displays. 15 ships. Different classes, different weapons, different capabilities. But they all had one weakness: they were not working together. Mercenaries cared about profit, not teamwork. Can you broadcast to all those ships? He asked. Yes, but do it. Vrel nodded to his communications officer. A moment later, he said, You're live. Taeyang's voice was calm and clear. This is Taeyang. I know why you're here. I know what you want. But there's something you should understand. I'm not trapped on this ship with you. You're trapped out there with me. Silence on the other end. Then a harsh, clicking voice responded. Big words, human. You're just one Reaper. We're 15 ships with hundreds of fighters. The math is simple. You're right, the math is simple, Taeyang said. 15 ships. 15 different groups. Which one of you gets to claim the bounty when I'm dead? Are you going to share? Are you going to trust each other? Another voice broke in, this one deeper. He's trying to divide us. No, said a third voice, cold and mechanical. He's pointing out the truth. There's only one bounty. Only one group can claim it. The comm channel erupted into arguments. The mercenary ships began moving away from each other, each one trying to position for the best attack angle. Trust was breaking down exactly as Taeyang predicted. Smart, Vrel admitted, but it won't stop them from attacking. No, Taeyang agreed, but it'll make them sloppy. They'll be watching each other as much as watching us. That gives us time. Time for what? To prepare. Over the next hour, Taeyang transformed the stellar horizon into a fortress. He gathered every able-bodied crew member and passenger willing to help. He positioned them at key choke points throughout the ship. He showed them how to set up ambushes, how to use the ship's narrow corridors to their advantage, how to make every meter cost the enemy dearly. A civilian engineer named Subin was particularly helpful. He was young, maybe 25, with quick eyes and clever hands. He helped Taeyang rig several cargo containers as improvised explosives. This is insane, Subin muttered as he worked. We're turning a luxury cruise ship into a war zone. Better a war zone than a tomb, Taeyang replied. Can you set these to remote detonation? Give me 10 minutes. Ji-won organized the security forces. Her ribs were taped and she moved with obvious pain, but she refused to sit out. I'm not much of a fighter, she told Taeyang. Not compared to you. You don't need to be like me. You just need to be smart and brave. You're already both, she smiled despite the situation. Is this how you spent your whole life? Fighting, mostly. Sometimes negotiating. Sometimes gathering intelligence. But yes, mostly fighting. Do you regret it? Taeyang looked at her for a long moment. Ask me again when this is over. The mercenaries attacked at midnight ship time. They came in waves trying to overwhelm the stellar horizon's defenses. Boarding pods attached to the hull like metallic parasites. Cutting torches screamed as they burned through the armor. Taeyang was waiting. The first wave of mercenaries broke through into the cargo bay. They were a mix of species. Insectoid warriors, reptilian hunters, even some rogue humans in powered armor. They charged forward, weapons raised. The cargo containers exploded. The blast tore through the boarding party. Survivors stumbled through smoke and flame, disoriented. Taeyang and his defenders hit them from 3 sides. It was not a fair fight. It was a slaughter. Next group, Taeyang said calmly into his communicator. Fall back to position Beta. Let them think they're winning. The mercenaries pushed deeper into the ship. They found the corridors empty, doors unlocked, no resistance. It felt too easy. The smart ones hesitated. The greedy ones pushed forward. They walked into kill zones. Taeyang had learned something important during his years as a Reaper. The best weapon is not strength or speed. It's terrain. He used every advantage the ship offered. Narrow passages that funneled attackers into groups, bulkhead doors that could be sealed remotely, trapping enemies, ventilation systems that could be flooded with sedative gas. The passengers and crew watched in amazement. Taeyang was everywhere at once, appearing where needed, calling out orders, adjusting strategies on the fly. He made war look like a chess game. Taeyang woke to white light and the smell of medical chemicals. His whole body ached. The shoulder wound throbbed with each heartbeat. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Don't move. Nari's voice was gentle but firm. She sat beside his bed, looking exhausted. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. You've been unconscious for 3 days. The ship? His voice came out rough. Safe, we're docked at Coalition Station 17. The Vrak escort made sure no one else tried anything stupid. She smiled tiredly. You scared everyone. The doctor said you lost almost half your blood. You should have told someone how badly you were hurt. Had to keep fighting. Taeyang closed his eyes against a wave of pain. Couldn't let them see weakness. That's the problem with you Reapers. You forget you're human. Nari squeezed his hand. You can't save everyone if you're dead. Before Taeyang could respond, the door opened. A man walked in, Korean like them, wearing a plain suit that somehow looked more dangerous than armor. He was older, maybe 50, with gray threading through his hair and eyes that had seen too much. Minho, Taeyang said. Hello, Taeyang. Minho's voice was flat, professional. You've made quite the mess. He saved hundreds of lives, Nari said sharply. Minho looked at her, and revealed the existence of an entire program that was supposed to stay secret. Every government, every criminal organization, every bounty hunter in the galaxy now knows about the Reapers. Do you understand what that means? It means people know humans can fight back, Nari replied. It means people know where to aim. Minho turned back to Taeyang. The Council wants you back. They have new missions, new targets. The entire galaxy is watching now. We need to show strength. Taeyang said nothing for a long moment. Then quietly, no. Minho blinked. Excuse me? I said no. I'm done. This was my last mission. I delivered the treaty. The Vrak are negotiating. My job is finished. Your job is never finished. You're a Reaper. You belong to humanity. I've belonged to humanity for 34 years. I was 7 years old when you took me. I've killed for you, bled for you, given up every chance at a normal life for you. Taeyang's voice remained calm, but something in it made Minho step back. I'm done. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do. Watch me make it, Minho's jaw tightened. If you refuse, the Council will classify you as a rogue asset. They'll send another Reaper to retrieve you, or eliminate you. Let them try. Taeyang met his handler's eyes without flinching. I'm not a weapon anymore, Minho. I'm just a man who wants to live. Minho stared at him for a long moment. Then surprisingly, he smiled. It was a sad smile full of regret. I told them you'd say that. I told them the peacetime Reapers would be a problem. Warriors are easy to create. Knowing when to stop being a warrior, that's the hard part. He reached into his jacket. Nari tensed, but Minho just pulled out a data chip. He set it on the table beside the bed. Your retirement papers, signed by the Council. You're free, Taeyang. He paused at the door. For what it's worth, you earned it. You were the best of us. Then he was gone. Nari looked at the data chip, then at Taeyang. Is it really that easy? They just let you go? They need to. The other Reapers are watching. If the Council forces me to stay, the others will rebel. We're too dangerous to make enemies of. Taeyang tried to sit up again, more carefully this time. Besides, I kept my word. The Vrak are negotiating. Peace is possible. That was the deal. Over the next 2 weeks, Taeyang recovered. Slowly, painfully, his body healed. The doctors were amazed at his recovery rate. They did not know about the enhancements, the modifications done to his body when he was young. Faster healing, stronger bones, more efficient organs. The price of being a Reaper. Visitors came and went. Jiwon stopped by, her ribs wrapped but her spirit intact. I've been offered a position with Coalition Security. Better pay, better training. They want someone who's fought alongside a Reaper. You'll do great, Taeyang told her. You were brave when it mattered. Subin visited too, full of energy and ideas. I've been hired by a ship design company. They want to incorporate defensive systems into civilian vessels. Turns out fighting pirates is good for business. Even Captain Vrel came, though he seemed uncomfortable. I've been promoted. Fleet Command wants experienced captains for the new Human Vrak Joint Patrol program. He hesitated. I judged your species too harshly. I thought humans were weak. You taught me otherwise. Humans aren't strong because of people like me, Taeyang said. We're strong because of people like Nari, Jiwon, Subin. People who stand up even when they're terrified. That's real courage. The peace negotiations were successful. The Vrak Empire and the human government signed the treaty 3 weeks after the battle. Decades of tension ended with signatures and handshakes. Ambassador Dayong gave a speech praising the humans' warrior spirit and dedication to peace. She specifically mentioned Taeyang. A warrior who fights for peace is rarer than a warrior who fights for glory. Humanity sent us their best, knowing he might die for this chance at peace. That showed us their sincerity. That earned our respect. The treaty opened doors. Other species began approaching humanity with trade agreements, defense pacts, cultural exchanges. The image of humans as weak newcomers faded. In its place grew a reputation for determination, creativity, and a willingness to fight for what mattered. News reports called it the Reaper Peace. Stories spread about the battle on the stellar horizon, about one man holding off hundreds of enemies, about ordinary people finding courage they did not know they had, about a species that could be gentle or deadly, depending on what the situation required. Taeyang watched these reports from his hospital bed with mixed feelings. He had wanted to retire quietly. Instead, he had become a symbol. His name was known across the galaxy now. Some spoke it with respect, others with fear, some with hatred. Nari sat with him often. They talked about many things: her work with the diplomatic corps, his plans for retirement, the changing galaxy, small things like favorite foods and childhood memories. She was easy to talk to. He found himself opening up in ways he had not done in years. "What will you do now?" she asked one evening. "Where will you go?" "There's a human colony on the edge of Coalition space. Quiet place, small population, far from politics and war. I thought I'd open a restaurant." "I'm a decent cook," Nari laughed. "A Reaper running a restaurant. That's quite the image. Not a Reaper. Just Taeyang." He looked at the stars through the window. "I want to be normal. Wake up, cook food, talk to customers, go to bed. Simple things. Peaceful things. You'll be bored in a week. Maybe. But I'd like to try." 2 months after the battle, Taeyang was cleared for release. He packed his few belongings, some clothes, his old book, the data chip with his retirement papers. That was all. 34 years of service, and he could fit his life into a single bag. Nari met him at the hospital exit. "I came to say goodbye." They stood there awkwardly for a moment. Two people who had been through something extraordinary together, now returning to normal life. Or trying to. "Thank you," Taeyang said finally, "for everything. For standing with me. For not running away. You saved my life. It seemed rude to run away." She smiled, but there were tears in her eyes. "Will I see you again?" "Maybe. The galaxy's smaller than it used to be." He picked up his bag. "Take care of yourself, Nari." He walked away. Made it maybe 10 steps before she called out. "Wait." He turned. She ran up to him and hugged him tightly. He stood stiff for a moment, then carefully returned the embrace. "You're a good man, Taeyang," she whispered. "Don't forget that. You're not just a weapon. You're not just a Reaper. You're a good man." She let go and stepped back, wiping her eyes. "Now go, before I embarrass myself more." Taeyang nodded and left. The station corridors were crowded, full of beings from dozens of species. Some recognized him. He saw it in their eyes, the way they moved aside. But no one bothered him. No one dared. At the transport terminal, he found his ship. Small, old, but functional. He had bought it with his retirement money. Enough to get him to the colony and start his new life. As he prepared for departure, his communicator chimed. "A message from Minho. The other Reapers want you to know they understand. They support your choice. Several are considering retirement themselves. The council isn't happy, but they'll adapt. Change is coming, Taeyang. You started something bigger than you know. Be well, old friend." Taeyang deleted the message. Then he deleted Minho's contact information. He deleted everything related to his old life. The Reaper Initiative, mission reports, tactical databases, everything. He kept only 3 contacts: Nari, Jiwan, and Subin. The people who had seen him at his worst and still chose to stand beside him. The people who reminded him that he was human. The ship lifted off. Stars stretched and blurred as the engines engaged. Taeyang sat in the pilot's seat and allowed himself to smile. For the first time in 34 years, he was free. Not a weapon. Not a tool. Not a Reaper, just Taeyang, just a man going home. 3 months later, Taeyang stood in front of a small building on the edge of New Haven Colony. The structure was simple. 1 story, metal and stone with large windows that let in natural light. It had been a storage facility. Now it would be something else. The sign above the door was plain. Taeyang's Kitchen. No fancy name. No reference to his past. Just a place to eat, talk, and be at peace. He spent a week getting everything ready. Installing kitchen equipment, setting up tables, arranging the menu. The work was physical and simple. He found it calming. No one trying to kill him. No missions. No pressure. Just the satisfaction of building something with his own hands. The colony was perfect for his needs. 2,000 people, mostly human with a few alien residents. far enough from major trade routes that news traveled slowly, close enough to civilization that supplies came regularly. The people here had heard about the Reaper piece, but most did not connect it to the quiet man opening a restaurant. On opening day, he had 3 customers, an older couple and their granddaughter. They ordered simple meals, soup, rice, grilled vegetables. Taeyang cooked carefully, making sure every dish was perfect. When they finished, the grandmother smiled at him. "This is wonderful. You have a gift." "Thank you," Taeyang said. Coming from her, it meant more than any medal or commendation he had received as a Reaper. Word spread slowly. Good food in a small colony was rare. Within 2 weeks, Taeyang's kitchen was busy most evenings. People came not just for the food but for the atmosphere. Taeyang was a good listener. He had spent years reading people, understanding them, predicting them. Those skills worked as well in a restaurant as they had in combat. He made friends. Real friends, not just mission contacts or tactical allies. There was Hyejin, the colony's doctor. She was Korean, in her 40s, with a sharp wit and kind heart. She ate at his restaurant 3 times a week and always left with medical advice he pretended not to need. "You're too thin," she told him one evening. "You need to eat more of your own cooking." "I eat plenty. Not enough. I can see it in your face. You're still recovering from something." She studied him carefully. "What happened to you, Taeyang?" "Old injuries. From before." "Before what?" "Before here." He smiled to soften the deflection. "Would you like more tea?" She let it go, but her eyes said she knew there was more to his story. There was also Kangmin, a farmer who supplied fresh vegetables to the colony. He was young, maybe 28, with calloused hands and an easy laugh. He started teaching Taeyang about growing food. "You can't just buy everything," Kangmin insisted. "You need to understand where food comes from. The soil, the seasons, the work." Taeyang found himself enjoying the lessons. There was something pure about planting seeds and watching them grow. Life instead of death, creation instead of destruction. Months passed. The restaurant thrived. Taeyang fell into a routine. Wake up early, go to the market, prepare food, open for lunch, close in the evening, sleep. Simple, peaceful. Everything he had wanted, but peace never lasts forever. One evening, a group of strangers entered the restaurant. 4 aliens, 2 Krovar, 1 Vrak, and something else Taeyang did not recognize. They wore mismatched armor and carried the attitude of people used to getting what they wanted. The other customers went quiet. This kind of trouble was rare in New Haven, but everyone recognized it when they saw it. "We're looking for someone," the lead Krovar said. His voice was rough, hostile. "A human. Used to be military. Might be using the name Taeyang." Taeyang finished wiping down a table. He moved slowly, deliberately. "There are a few hundred humans in this colony. Lots of names. This one's special. This one killed a lot of our brothers." The Krovar's eyes narrowed. "This one's a Reaper." The restaurant went completely silent. Everyone looked at Taeyang. He could see them adding it up, his skills, his quietness, the way he moved, the scars they had glimpsed on his arms. Understanding dawned on their faces. "That name doesn't mean anything here," Taeyang said calmly. "This is a peaceful colony. No one wants trouble. Too bad." The Krovar drew a weapon. "You coming with us, or do we make this ugly?" Taeyang set down his cleaning cloth. He looked at the other customers. Hyejin near the back, Kangmin by the door, a dozen others he had come to know. They looked scared but also determined. They knew what he was now, but they were not running. They were his friends. "Let the others leave first," Taeyang said. "No one leaves." The Krovar aimed his weapon at Hyejin. "We know what you Reapers do. You care too much. That's your weakness. So here's the deal. You come with us or we start shooting civilians." Taeyang's expression did not change. But something in the air shifted. The temperature seemed to drop. The lights seemed dimmer. When he spoke, his voice was very quiet. "You made a mistake coming here. We're 4 armed warriors. You're 1 retired soldier in an apron." The Krovar laughed. "What are you going to do?" What happened next was over in seconds. Taeyang moved with the speed and precision that had made him legendary. He crossed the distance to the Krovar in a heartbeat, disarmed him and used the weapon to shoot the other aliens before they could react. Then he broke the lead Krovar's arm in 3 places and forced him to the floor. The whole thing took maybe 5 seconds. One moment, 4 armed warriors controlled the room. The next, 3 were dead and 1 was on the floor screaming. Taeyang stood over him, the weapon now pointed at his head. You threaten my friends, my home, my peace. His voice was cold, empty of emotion. The voice of the Reaper.
You made a mistake. Wait.
The crowbar gasped through his pain. We didn't know. We thought you'd be alone, easy to grab. We didn't know you had friends? Taeyang finished. That's the difference between you and me. I learned that there's more to life than fighting. You never did. He lowered the weapon. You're going to leave now. You're going to tell everyone what happened here. You're going to spread the message. Taeyang is retired. Anyone who comes looking for him will die. Understand? The crowbar nodded frantically. Good, now get out. The crowbar scrambled up and ran, cradling his broken arm. The door slammed behind him. The restaurant remained silent. Everyone stared at Taeyang. He realized he was still holding the weapon. He looked down at it with something like disgust, then set it on a table. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I tried to leave that life behind. I tried to be normal. But it followed me anyway. Yejin stood up. She walked over to him, her face serious. Then she hugged him. You saved us, she said. You could have gone with them. You could have avoided the fight. But you protected us instead. Others joined her. Kangman, the other customers, they all gathered around him. Not with fear, but with gratitude. With acceptance. We don't care what you were, Kangman said. We care about who you are now. And you're our friend. Taeyang felt something break inside him. Something he had been holding on to for 34 years. He had always thought of himself as a weapon, a tool, something apart from normal people. But these people saw him differently. They saw him as human. The next day, news of the incident spread through the colony. Taeyang expected fear, rejection, demands that he leave. Instead, people supported him. They understood that he had come here for peace, and when peace was threatened, he had defended not just himself but all of them. The colonial government officially requested that he stay. We'd feel safer knowing you're here, the governor said. Taeyang agreed, but with one condition: he would also teach self-defense classes. Not to create warriors, but to give people confidence and skills, to teach them that they could stand up for themselves. The classes started small. A few teenagers, some curious adults. Taeyang taught them basics: awareness, de-escalation, how to escape dangerous situations. But more than that, he taught them that strength came from discipline and control, not aggression. One student was a young alien child, small and timid. Her species was often bullied by larger races. She could barely look Taeyang in the eye at first. After 6 months of training, she walked differently, stood taller, spoke with confidence. One day after class, her parents thanked him with tears in their eyes. You gave our daughter her life back, they said. Taeyang thought about all the lives he had taken as a Reaper. All the missions, all the blood, all the death. And here, in this small colony, teaching children to be brave, he was finally balancing the scales. Not erasing his past, but building something better from it. Nari visited twice during the first year. Her work with the diplomatic corps kept her busy, but she made time. They sat in the restaurant after closing, drinking tea and talking about the changing galaxy. The Reaper peace is holding, she told him during her second visit. 5 more species have signed non-aggression treaties with humanity. Trade is booming. Some are calling this a golden age. That's good, Taeyang said. It's because of you. Because you showed that humans could be strong but also wanted peace. You changed how the galaxy sees us. I just wanted to go home. Sometimes going home means changing the world. She smiled. How's retirement treating you? Better than I expected. I'm happy here. You look it. You're smiling more. You look lighter, like you put down a heavy weight. I did. He poured more tea. I spent my whole life being what humanity needed me to be. Now I get to be what I need to be. It's a good feeling. What about the other Reapers? 3 more have retired. The rest are still working.